join us in conversation with my fellow co-chair, Marcy Ian. Now, Mark is an economist, banker, and author of the aforementioned book, Values, Building a Better World for All. He is vice chairman and head of impact investing at Brookfield Asset Management, and he served as the governor of the Bank of Canada from 2008 until 2013, and as governor of Bank of England from 2013 to 2020. Prior to his governorships, Carney worked at Goldman Sachs, as well as the Canadian Department of Finance. With Marcy's notable experience as a journalist and TV host, this conversation is sure to be enlightening for all of us. As they say in the newsroom or on the social, over to you, Marcy.
Thanks so much, Terry. It's a pleasure to be here with you. And Mark, oh my goodness, as Terry mentioned, there's a lot of excitement. People are posting pictures of themselves holding up your book. They're excited for this conversation, and they should be. You are, Bank of Canada governor, former one, Bank of England governor, UN special envoy for climate action and finance, and author. And that, my friend, leads to a very interesting and diverse point of view. So cannot wait to chat with you. But before we do that, you're going to speak. You're going to say a few words. So I'm going to turn it over to you right now, and we'll talk on the other side. Can't wait.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Marcy. Thank you, Terry, for that. I look forward to that discussion of the footnote on page 260 odd. I'd like to begin by acknowledging I'm speaking this evening from the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to be present here. And like all of you, like all of us, I'm also grateful for the exceptional service of our frontline health professionals and essential workers, and for the sacrifices of Canadians who are helping each other out every day to get through this difficult time. Now, this evening, what I wanted to do in the few minutes I have is to speak about how we get what we value: our health and security, an economy that works for all Canadians, and a sustainable future for us, our kids, and our grandkids. But before I focus on tomorrow, let me start where I began. I was born in Fort Smith in the Northwest Territories. A national park separated me from what was then known as the tar sands. And one of my earliest memories was my father showing me some bitumen and telling me of its potential to power the world. I grew up in Edmonton as scientists, governments, and entrepreneurs turned that vast resource from a concept to a reality and to prosperity. I was a teenager when Wayne Gretzky famously taught us to win by skating to where the puck's going, a lesson with value beyond hockey then and now. And I learned from my family, friends, and neighbors the values of integrity, responsibility, solidarity, and compassion. I've been fortunate to live in a country where millions of people, like you, volunteer countless hours to build an even better Canada. And from all those experiences, I've learned that progress doesn't just happen. It takes vision, hard work, and disciplined implementation. And it's only durable. Progress is only durable when it's rooted in our shared values. We move forward when we face up to our challenges, when we forge consensus on where we want to go, and then take decisive action to get there. Lorsque l'opportunité s'est présentée, j'ai agi en fonction de nos valeurs canadiennes afin d'avancer d'entrer. She said, I'm working for the United Nations to channel the immense power of that financial system to help solve the climate crisis. This transformation to a sustainable system is gathering pace. Only last week, global financial institutions controlling over $30 trillion of assets committed to the transition to a net zero economy. But as we've left it very late, much more will be required. The private sector is critical to addressing climate change, but it won't solve it on its own. Your work on climate is vital for Canada, and it's an inspiration to the world. Everyone these days, well, almost everyone, recognizes the climate is changing. But when it comes to politics, you make your own weather. Canada was going nowhere fast on climate before this government took office. Now, we have a legislated commitment to net zero, and we're the first country in the G20 with a carbon price policy serious enough to make a difference. Ce soir, je veux remercier le Premier ministre Trudeau about how to achieve that future, to go to where the puck is going, is why I spent much of last year writing that book that Terry was holding up. For those of you who've already bought it, and I assume you did, Terry, thank you. For those of you who've read it, thank you even more. If you haven't yet, I'd like to highlight one of its core points. We're living in a time that confuses market value with human values. A world where we know the price of Amazon, but not the value of the Amazon. A world where technology threatens to replace our jobs rather than improve them. Now, I've worked at the center of markets all of my professional life. And let me tell you something important about them. Markets are the most powerful instrument we've ever created. Their energy and dynamism can be harnessed and directed to serve great purposes. But the market is also indifferent to human suffering, and it can be blind to our greatest needs. That's why politicians who worship the market tend to deliver policies that hurt people. And those who default to laissez-faire leave us unprepared for the future. Put simply, markets don't have values, people do. And it's our responsibility to close the gap between what we value and what the market prices. And that is the work of politics. That's the work you do when you convince your neighbors to support a candidate who will put a price on pollution because the market doesn't. Or when you created the Canada Child Benefit because the market left 1 million Canadian kids in poverty. I didn't choose those two examples by accident. They're two of the most important policies of our lifetimes. Why? Because they're grounded in human values, values of fairness, solidarity, and sustainability, and they produce real results for people. They'll help change the climate, and they'll help improve the futures of millions of Canadians. Ces exemples soulignent que les pays ne sont. These forces could deepen our divisions, but if they're channeled, they can grow our economy for the benefit of all Canadians. So we need to focus technology on improving the quality of existing jobs, on enabling workers to build their skills, and helping them unleash their creativity through greater connectivity across Canada and with the wider world. In short, we must choose to be digital by design rather than digital by default. La transition écologique, ce n'est pas dans 20. On climate, we can move quickly to a zero carbon electricity grid and electrify as much of our transportation and industrial processes as possible. We can accelerate our production and adoption of electric vehicles, transform the energy efficiency of our homes and offices, and channel the same type of determined focus of engineers, entrepreneurs, and governments that I saw in Alberta growing up to turn hydrogen and carbon capture from concepts into commercial realities. Most fundamentally, we must bring everyone along by creating the jobs of the present and the future, particularly in the regions of the country like my home province that will face the largest adjustment. This points to another type of sustainability. Budget choices are often described in terms of the sustainability of debts, but they're really about the sustainability of people's livelihoods. People know that spending only on the present won't deliver a better future for them and their children. And so once we exit COVID, we will need broad-based growth driven by investments in the digital and sustainable engines of our future, and policies that support the full participation of all Canadians in our economy.